Chinese are very patient about setting conditions. Their plan is not to attack you and take over the world. Their plan is to become the world. They're going to become this demographically. All the people that came through on the Bering Straits, they're saying that's ours. All the Navajo, all the everybody, all the Indians, whether it's Embera, Kuna, Apache, it doesn't matter. They're saying they are old descendants of Chinese, and this is our land from the top of Alaska all the way down to the tip of South America. All the Americas are Chinese. And you see them moving in everywhere, becoming these places, right?
I just read an article the other day that California just elected its first non-citizen government official who happens to be Chinese.
Keep in mind, I have written 3 books on Chinese information where I'm kind of dialed in on this. I've been to Tibet, where they were kind of moved in and just took it. Some of it was kinetic, but mostly it was demographic, right? I was in Hong Kong for 7 months until they kicked me out during the last spasm from 2019 to 20, right? And so how did they take Tibet? Mostly demographic warfare. Han Chinese moving in and supplanting the Tibetans who moved off to northern India. I've been up to northern India talking with them. A lot of Tibetans are in Hong Kong or they're in Oregon and California, right? They're all over the place with their prayer flags, but they're gone. Tibet is gone, essentially, right? How did they take Hong Kong? They took Hong Kong, again, they were just bringing in like 100 to 150 Han Chinese per day. They were taking over key positions like professors, preachers, actually literal preachers, and politicians, of course, also policemen, all the P's, and and just slowly taking over the cockpit. And so they mostly did it demographically. They set conditions. As you know, with your background, you know all about setting conditions. This isn't about sparks and all that. This is about setting conditions. And Chinese are very patient about setting conditions. So they slowly just bring in the demographic waves, just enough, not enough that everybody rises up and goes crazy, but you fill the bathtub, right? And so that's what they did in Tibet. That's what they did in Hong Kong. That's what they're doing. I was just down in Honduras, and I was in a place called Roatan. I was talking with a very interesting guy there, and I asked him, do you know anybody in the Honduran government that's in Roatan's an island in Honduras, right? And I said, do you know anybody who has been invited, somebody from the top levels of the Honduran government, military, whatever, who's been invited to China? And he said, actually, yeah, a friend of mine. So who happened to be the top general in the Honduran military. In fact, he was like their chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So I said, oh, is he here? Can we invite him, right? He goes, no, he lives on the mainland near Tegucigalpa. I said, well, can you call him up and ask him to dinner tomorrow night? So we flew him in. The next night, we had dinner with him for 3 or 4 hours, right? And he talked about how he was invited to China because his grandfather came into Honduras, the Chinese, in like 1923, right? And so these are called what they call overseas Chinese, right? So I'm going somewhere very important with this. They'll find these overseas Chinese. I had Masako Ganaha sitting beside me, that Japanese journalist who's always Johnny on the spot. And she was, we'd talked about this quite a lot. They always invite you over. They'll have a parade for you. They'll show you the graves of your family and that sort of thing. He's like, oh, they invited me over. They had a parade for me. They showed me the graves of my family. That's what they do, right? And it's what they do. Everywhere I go, that's what they do. And they get you he said he's been to China, I think 7 times at this point. So those are what they call overseas Chinese. Now, there's a different type of recruitment. There's numerous different types. Another type is more archaeological and anthropological. For instance, we knew that there was an archaeological dig going on in Honduras. So that's why we flew to Honduras, because the Chinese are doing an archaeological dig there, and they're trying to persuade the Mayan Indians that they came over on the land bridge and they're actually Chinese. And all these bad white people came and took your land, the Spanish, wherever, the Germans, whoever, took your land, right? But we're all brothers and sisters, we're cousins, whatever, but we're all family, and we're going to take this stuff back. So interestingly, that Honduran general, we were talking about this in detail. He goes, their plan is not to attack you and take over the world. Their plan is to become the world. They're going to become this demographically. They're going to just slowly, that's what I saw in Tibet. That's what I see in parts of Thailand, the place where they want to build the Kra Isthmus Canal. Chinese are moving down there, right? I'm seeing this everywhere I go. I'm watching it in Panama. I'm watching it. It's happening in Honduras. It's happening in Guatemala. I was up in Guatemala looking at the same thing, right? And of course, the Guatemalans don't have quite the relationship with they don't have that relationship yet. Guatemala still has a tight relationship with Taiwan, right? As does Belize. In fact, Masako Ganaha had an interview with the Taiwanese ambassador in Belize a few months ago, and I was there. And we were talking about these sorts of things. And you can see China is slowly taking all the pawns, all the little squares off the board so that Taiwan has no diplomatic cover anywhere, whether it's Haiti or Belize or Guatemala. They've already taken, Panama from them and almost everybody else. Why is this even important? As soon as there's no countries at all that recognize Taiwan, that's it. You're closed down. You can't even travel, as a sovereign country anymore. You're not going to, because right now they have the international cover because you are recognized by some people, right? But yeah, this is coming. It's coming hard for Taiwan.
Interesting. I did not piece that one together.
Yeah. So they're slowly, Belize and Guatemala are important for various reasons. Those are the two countries that border Mexico on the south, right? And, another thing, by the way, a lot of these people that are coming through the Darien Gap, they say, they're from Nepal and places like that, and India. I spent a year in India. I spent a year in Nepal. I spent a year in and around China. Why are all these Chinese coming through that are like, I'm fleeing persecution, and yet they still have such diplomatic cover from the United States? Why is a country that we allow people in because they claim that their country is persecuting them or even prosecuting them, and yet we still treat, China like they're our best buddies, in trade and whatnot, right?
I can answer that.
Yeah, we know the answer.
It's called elite capture.
That's
do you
exactly
know who
what
Peter
it is.
Schweitzer is?
What's that?
You guys got to meet. Do you know Peter Schweitzer?
I don't know him personally, but it's totally elite capture. They're like that Honduran general I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. There's the elite capture in that way. There's elite capture for people that are not Chinese of descent at all, and then there's the overseas Chinese. You can see films now in the United States. I read a book about 3 years ago, I guess, about building the transcontinental railway in the United States, and the book was written by a Gordon Chang. And I messaged to Gordon Chang. I was with Gordon Chang, the Fox commentator. I was with him in Hong Kong and whatnot, and so I said, "Oh, this is a great book, Gordon." I was surprised. I didn't know you wrote this. He goes, "Oh, that's the other Gordon Chang."
We talk a lot on this show about protecting your family and being prepared for the worst case scenario. But there's one area of protection that a lot of us, myself included, for a long time tend to procrastinate on, and that's life insurance. I've had term life insurance for several years now, and I remember the exact moment I realized I needed it. It was right around the time my son was born. I started thinking about the mortgage, the kid's education, and all the expenses I'd want covered if the unthinkable happens and I'm not here to provide for them anymore. But having a plan in place is what actually allows you to breathe easier. If you've been putting this off because you think it's too expensive or too much of a hassle, you need to check out Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done today, made for busy parents like you, all online on your schedule, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. A lot of people assume their work-life insurance is enough, but most policies don't provide nearly enough coverage and don't follow you if you leave your job. Fabric offers affordable, high-quality life insurance like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Fabric is partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by families just like yours for over 50 years. And Fabric is rated excellent on Trustpilot with over 1,900 five-star reviews. There's no risk, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/srclips. That's meetfabric.com/srclips. meetfabric.com/srclips. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Because the book was all about basically how the Chinese were so important in building the transcontinental railway. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. You can find, if you go on YouTube, you can find a video where this Chinese forest ranger at Yellowstone is saying, well, the Chinese built the road here. They're basically setting the conditions in the Chinese minds that America's ours. All the people that came through on the Bering Straits, they're saying that's ours. All the Navajo, all the everybody, all the Indians, whether it's Embera, Kuna, Apache, it doesn't matter. They're saying they are old descendants of Chinese, and this is our land. From the top of Alaska all the way down to the tip of South America, all the Americas are Chinese. And you see them moving in everywhere, becoming these places, right? Slowly supplanting the local people, brainwashing them. We were just in El Salvador, in San Salvador, right? I always go to libraries. I always go to museums. I've been to museums all over the world, Malaysia, Indonesia, long list. I'm looking for clues on the information. Always watch your enemy's information game, right?
I mean, it's pretty public now. I mean,
yeah.
You saw what they just threw a huge ceremonial parade in California when Xi Jinping came. You saw that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was publishing way in advance that they're going to make San Francisco their capital in the United States. I've published this many times. I said, and that's why I go to San Francisco sometimes. I know that's where they're going to do it.
On top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I just read an article the other day that California just elected its first non-citizen government official who happens to be Chinese.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, but you see these Chinese police stations all over the world. Like we've been to one in Dublin and London, and they're in the United States. They're everywhere, right?
Yeah. What do they say? Once it hits 40% of the population, that it turns. They make their own laws, make their own rules.
It'll be less than 40 with those guys.
Is it?
Because the Chinese Communist Party demands allegiance with anybody with Chinese genes, right? Again, let me go back to something I was going to say, and then I'll go into this. I could literally go on. I could teach a university course on this. I've written 3 books on it, right? I mean, we were just up in San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador, right? It's a safe place. I recommend people go there on vacation. But one thing that's quite interesting, though, is all these people from these places they say are war-torn or impoverished, they're passing by Starbucks. We were in San Salvador. There was a Starbucks on one side of the street and on the other side of the street. I'm like, so all these impoverished people are going through all these countries that Americans moved to, right? Americans moved to Panama and Costa Rica, and a lot of them actually moved to Honduras, believe it or not. And now people are moving to El Salvador, but they're all passing through all these places, right? But anyway, let me tell you about the library. I was going to mention I always go to libraries, museums, archaeological digs, because this is where you can pick up the trailhead on information war, right? And so in El Salvador, in San Salvador, there's a new library. It's not quite finished, but you can get into it. It's 7 floors, right? And so we waited in line for about 45 minutes. There's a Chinese Communist Party flag, CCP flag, waving right out front. I mean, it's right at the top, right next to the El Salvador flag, right? And we went in there, and it's 7 floors. And I kept asking, where's the section on like physics and engineering and time management, MBA stuff, you know what I mean? History. And, finally we get to about the 6th floor. Yeah, 6th floor. But mostly it's just video games and that sort of thing. And so you have to get what's called a key to knowledge. That's the library card. So if you want to if you want to play the video games, like they have all these video games like Batman and Game of Thrones and all this child stuff, right? But if you want to play the video games, you have to read a book for 30 minutes. And then they'll credit your key to knowledge, and then you can go play the video games for an hour. As you can imagine, whatever book they put in your hand, and they say you have to take some little test on the book, and it's library warfare. I call that library warfare. There's a museum warfare, archaeological warfare. I just call it these things because there's no name for it. And I see it all over the world. They'll come in and they'll say, like the archaeologists that are now in Honduras, and they'll say, hey, well, look at these pots and potteries. This is what was made. When I was in Tibet,
this is what was made what?
Back in China.
So what are the archaeological warfare?
Oh, they try to persuade you that here's how it works. They'll come in and they'll, dig some stuff up and say, well, this is actually, from so-and-so back, and this is from this era in China. And actually you are part of us. And they, have these genetic tests and then they start bringing them in. Like, you're actually our cousins. You helped build the Great Wall of China. You did all these great things and da-da-da-da-da. And then and then you came across, you fought your way down, and survived like, basically good Chinese. And then these Spanish people and conquistadors and whatnot came and took it away from you, right? This is our land. We were the first ones here, right? That's how they roll. And
what was the other one? You had the library, archaeological, and what was the other one? There was 3.
Museum.
Museum.
Yeah, and statues as well. So what they'll do is, let's say with statues, because this works the same way as the archaeological, like statues. They'll put up a statue somewhere, like say a Comfort Women statue in Glendale, California. Now the Koreans are running that, but I've been there quite a lot. But they'll come and they'll put up a statue, and they'll get a lot of press around the statue, right? There'll be a website for it. They'll raise money for it. They'll start bringing journalists there. Like if you go to Jeju Island down in South Korea, there's a big island off of South Korea called Jeju Island. They got these big museums there. I've looked at them. They bring in entire plane loads of journalists come in, get them all soused up, drunk, and take them and show them the museums. And I've watched them do that. It's just amazing. They literally will invite a bunch of, all inclusive, come on down from Seoul or come in from Japan, come from Los Angeles, come and see, come and visit, Korea. And so now they've got all the journalists, and they take them to the museums, and the next thing you know, their articles come out. And you know how this goes. Mm-hmm. It's the mockingbird thing, right? Or I call it, caw crows, right? And all the journalists are like, caw. One goes, caw, basically shit. Yeah. Everybody's, they're like flies that eat each other's vomit, right?
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.